Hey there, it's Joe Slack from the Board Game Design course. And today, in Behind the Design, we're going to have a look at the 2016 release, Splendor, by Marc-Andre. This is published by Space Cowboys and Asmodee. Now this is an engine building game, and although it's known for being very simple to learn and easy to teach, there's a lot more behind the scenes with this game. So let's have a look at Splendor. Here's the setup for a 4-player game of Splendor. As you can see, there's a market with multiple rows of cards and tiles that can be collected, as well as tokens on the right-hand side. This is an engine building game, which essentially means that you're going to be collecting up stuff in the game in order to be able to pull off bigger moves and collect more stuff during the course of the game. Your goal is to be the first player to get 15 points, and you do so by collecting the cards with the point values, as shown, as well as the noble tiles that are each worth 3 points. On your turn, you're able to do one of 3 actions. You can take tokens in quantities of 3 different, or 2 of the same, as long as you leave a minimum number behind. Your second option is to purchase a card. You can only do so if you have the right quantities of the different types of gems in order to purchase it. Now these gems can either be these tokens or the cards you've already collected. For example, if I've already collected 2 of the green gems, that can count towards any of the green gems on here, and they're used permanently, whereas the tokens are spent resources. Your third option is to reserve a card. You do so by taking the card as well as a joker token. Now these are wild and can be spent on anything. You'll keep that turned over as it hasn't been scored yet, and you can score it at a later time. So there's a slight hand management aspect to this, in which you are holding on to cards in your hand that you may purchase later on. There's a lot of resource management in the game, as you can only hold up to 10 tokens at a time. But one of the main aspects of this game is the set collection aspect. As I mentioned, as you collect these cards, other cards become less expensive to purchase. So I could use these 2 green gems towards the purchase of this card, for example, as long as I also have white tokens or cards that indicate that I have 3 white and 3 red gems as well. So any combination of tokens and cards in front of me will allow me to do that. And that's how you build your engine. As you gain more and more cards of one type, it'll make it cheaper to buy certain resources. As mentioned, there's also a market here. You have options for different cards you can buy, but the market opens up and expands over time. In the start, you can only really afford the things in the first row. Anything in the second row is going to be a lot harder to be able to collect the right tokens in order to purchase them. And anything in the third row is going to be very difficult until much later in the game, when you have a number of cards and tokens built up so you can afford those more expensive cards. There's also a card drafting aspect, as you will take the cards once you purchase them and add them to your hand from the market. And finally, you can also collect contracts. So all of the noble tiles are considered contracts, because as soon as you have cards in front of you that have enough of the right symbols, in this case 3 brown, 3 red, and 3 white, you'll be able to take that noble tile, which is worth 3 points. Splendor is a really sleek, uncomplicated game, and it goes to show that you can create an engine builder with some extra mechanics that does not have to be complicated. One of the most interesting things about Splendor is the set collection aspect, as you can go for different combinations of different gems in order to collect higher level cards for points and go for the nobles. So it's all about collecting these. You can't just rely completely on the tokens, because once they're used, they're spent as a resource. But once you're able to purchase a card, it stays in front of you, and you can use them over and over for your purchases. Also, the element of having a market with 3 different tiers is really interesting, as you can see a lot of different options, but really only the first options are available early on in the game, and that builds up and lets you climb and get higher and higher point cards. It doesn't provide analysis paralysis, which happens in a lot of games where you would see a display of 12 cards like this, because you're really only focused on what's on the bottom, and then thinking long term what you can accomplish later on here and what noble contracts you might be able to claim. If you design games or are interested in designing a game of your own, check out my 10-minute board game design blueprint. It'll help you walk through how to create a vision for your game quickly so you can figure out the mechanics, theme, endgame conditions, and everything else that will make your game come together quickly. Check out the link below. Thanks for checking out this edition of Behind the Design, looking at the engine building game, Splendor. This has been Joe Slack from the Board Game Design course. Take care.